Welcome to our podcast and strap in for Movie Monday. Hi, I'm Minky Madison.
And I'm Jack Green.
Today on Movie Monday, we discuss The Ritual, the 2017 horror mystery thriller rated TV mature and directed by David Bruckner. The synopsis is a group of friends take a long hike in the forest with dire consequences. I give it 3 kernels. What did you give it?
I gave it 3 as well.
Oh, snap.
This is the first time we've agreed.
Yeah, I think it is. Okay, stop and watch the movie first now or strap in for major spoilers. My favorite quote was, the 2 friends were arguing and one said, "Why do you have to deny everything I say?" And then the other one was like, "Because I do not value your judgment." I thought that was good.
That was
Did
a
you
good
have-
comeback.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm like, man, I need to use that in real life. Did you have a favorite?
My favorite quote was the guys were basically talking about the statue, that they found in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil says, they were talking about giving it an offering. And Phil said, yeah, well, I almost offered up a massive shit. That made me laugh.
That's a good one. Yeah, I don't even know that I heard it, actually. That's funny.
I just thought it was clever, it was just funny.
Yeah, it
Offered up a
Okay.
massive shit.
is. So do you want to go into your pros or cons first?
Yes, I will go into the pros. So
Okay.
I thought it had decent special effects and good cinematography, from the runes on the trees to the actual trees themselves, the way the branches kind of stuck out. So the whole forest was like really creepy. So yeah, I liked what they did with the special effects. However, some of the special effects I thought were not so great, and I'll get to that in my cons. I think the acting was decent as well. All of them were pretty decent actors. They did genuinely seem upset and reacted in ways that were pretty believable. And I like the narrative, I like the story up to the first part. So basically these are all things that I like about the film. And then I'll get into my cons now, which is I didn't like the way the film ended. I didn't like the second half. It really did a good job of setting everything up, And I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
going to be kind of like Blair Witch, so I haven't seen that, but it seemed like something that would be similar
That's
to Blair
funny.
Witch.
I was thinking that too, because I've seen Blair Witch, and if I remember correctly, like nothing happens that whole movie. It's just people running around screaming. Like seriously, like I remember watching it and being like, "Are you serious? Why do people love that?" I would need to see it again to have a real opinion because it's been so long. But anyway, I was thinking this was a better done Blair Witch, which is funny.
Yeah, that's what I had heard about Blair Witch, so I haven't seen it, and so I thought the same thing. I thought they were going to do it in a way that was really cool. They had where they all woke up in the house and they were all in either peeing themselves or naked or like just so that was cool, and just the fear factor, but they kind of revealed too much in my opinion in the second half, and it took the mystery and it took the fear away. I mean, that CGI creature, which is one of the cons I have, is I like the special effects until it got to that. It's not that it was poor, it just, I don't know, it wasn't scary to me. It was more just weird or bizarre. It just started off so well, then for it to reveal too much, and it took the fear out of it, and didn't have like a super really deep story for as explaining what the creature was and what was
Mm-hmm.
happening. So yeah, that was kind of a disappointment, but it still got a 3 because overall it did more well than it did wrong, what I mean, or poorly.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can go into yours pros and cons now if you'd like.
Okay, so I'll start with my pros as well. I think it had some good unexpected surprises because my assumption was that it would be seasoned hikers exploring a forest and then shit going down. But
Hmm.
instead, the group of friends were discussing options of what to do for fun on their vacation. And most of them actually didn't even want to hike at all. Like, that was a bad plan in their eyes. They didn't even. I thought that was cool because I thought they were just going to basically be in the forest to begin with, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and it's actually not until Rob and Luke go to the convenience store and Rob is unexpectedly mugged and murdered before Luke's eyes that the friends actually decide to go on the hiking trip because it was what Rob wanted and to kind of
Hmm.
honor his death and everything. And it added some good tension between Luke and his friends because Luke was the only one in the store who saw it happening and could have actually tried to help Rob, but he knew he was outnumbered and may have just died along with him. So he was understandably too afraid to intervene, but some of his friends held a grudge against him for not at least trying to help. And he probably
Hmm.
had some guilt as well, because that is a big deal, not knowing if you should help or put yourself in danger too and possibly both die or, you know, but he could have
Yeah.
possibly saved you too. So it's a hard call. So I liked that they brought that into it to make it more interesting among the characters. And then I also liked how later on Luke's dreams about the convenience store and the robbery was playing out in the wood setting. I thought that was neat. It was like a window into another place, even though it was technically like a dream kind of.
Hmm.
I thought that was a really neat way to do it and made it more interesting to watch for sure. I just thought that was cool. And then the bear gutted and on display hanging in the trees was pretty creepy because it was clear that someone intentionally put it there, like they kind of were talking about.
Hmm.
It was way too high and it was very deliberate the way it looked in the branches and everything. So, I mean, it's gross and like I don't want bears to be murdered and hanging in trees, but I think they did it really well for the movie, you know, to show that someone's clearly out there. And then when they find the cabin and stay the night, and then they each wake up having a sort of vision and one of them wakes up, like you said, naked, worshiping the headless shrine.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of cool to me. I don't know. It was interesting. It was, I didn't expect it, I guess. So I thought that was not like amazing, but I thought it was interesting. I liked it. I thought they did that well. And then, funnily enough, one of your cons is actually one of my pros. I think the creature reveal was actually pretty good because although it was basically a glorified moose with a human person's body and a Jawa from Star Wars for a head, because that's pretty much what it looked like.
Uh-huh.
I think it was I think it was done well enough. I've definitely seen worse monster reveals, and I think even though, like you said, it's not scary, most horror movies, in my opinion, aren't scary to begin with. So it's not like I'm losing out on anything. And I think it was an interesting looking enough monster for me, it kind of worked. Like I wasn't expecting anything, so maybe that was part of it. But I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was cool. Like you said, it was very bizarre looking, but I think it kind of fit because that ritualistic statue thing that they were worshiping was part of the body of that thing, like the head,
Uh-huh.
torso. So I don't know. I think it it could have been better maybe, but I thought it was pretty good, especially compared to like I said, some of the ones I've seen where it totally ruins the movie and they're awful and they didn't even really try or something on the monster, you know?
Yeah. Perhaps it's just nitpicking, on my end. It's really it was well done in terms of the special effects. It just, well, maybe perhaps it wasn't what I wanted to see,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was pushing that onto the film rather than accepting it for what it was. But I did, to add to what you say, I did like the characters. They had a nice backstory going on with a source of tension, and you combine that with good special effects and good pacing generally for
Yeah.
the film. That's why I got 3 stars, is because all of that was very solid. And I did, like I said, I like the dream sequence with the convenience store, and really
Yeah,
the
that was
whole
cool.
dream or nightmarish morning, however you want to call it, when they all went to sleep in the house. They all had a unique, different experience. They were all reacting differently um,
Mhm.
to this, which is interesting because did it ever explain why they had different reactions? Like why one was praying to the statue and why one was wetting themselves and another one was outside. Like, you mean like there was,
No,
yeah.
it didn't. That's kind of one of my cons as well, is that they didn't really go into in depth on why or any of the rules with this monster or like any of, you know, the backstory to it, which yeah, it didn't explain any of that. It was interesting to watch and play out, but it didn't explain it.
Yeah, there could have been, there was a good amount of fear in the beginning, and I just feel like sometimes less is more. And They really could have tapped into that, which is I think what Blair Witch was trying to do, but they didn't do a good job of it.
But yeah, they just went Blair Witch went the extreme though with it, where they didn't show you shit. Like if I remember correctly, like nothing happens. Like you're literally just watching scared kids holding cameras the whole time.
Yeah,
Um,
so this was had the potential to be a nice medium between the two. You know, a nice medium spot between Blair Witch, where
mhm.
they failed to do enough, and then versus overdoing it and adding giant creatures in there. Yeah, like which is essentially what they kind of jumped the shark because when I think of a deity, like I didn't think it was going to be this real larger than life thing that was going to come out of the woods. Um, I thought it was more something
Yeah.
that was like pervasive and it was like embodied in the entire forest in a spiritual sense. But it was good,
Yeah,
good watch.
that is true. They definitely could have taken it the way you're saying, and that might have been really good, if not better, as well. I'm just saying, as far as monsters go, I was actually kind of impressed with how they did it because, like you said, it's very obvious what it is. But I think they did it well, for what it is. I don't know. But I'll get into my cons.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
yeah. So Luke gets a mark on his chest by the beast during sleep, and later on, like down the road, it's revealed that he's been chosen by their god creature to live and serve him rather than to be sacrificed like the rest of them. But it didn't explain why he or any of the people that were in that town were chosen. And it seems almost random. So I would have liked some explanation to know why, or like what's the point of him just randomly picking people? You know what I mean? Like, did you see, maybe I missed something? Did they tell us
No,
like why that was?
maybe perhaps we both missed it, but as far as I'm aware, they never did tell you why. Like, why was one of them praying to the statue upon waking up, and another had a mark of being selected?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it would seem like if you were selected, you would be the one praying to it, right? But instead, he's the one
Yeah.
outside that's farthest away from it. So I don't know. It's just odd.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. But yeah, it didn't really like it didn't really make sense, I guess, without them explaining anything. Maybe when they wrote it, they didn't have it make logical sense because, like I said, it is a god, so maybe it just doesn't make logical sense and it just does what it wants.
Hmm.
And I don't know. But okay, my other one was when all the other members of his group are dead and Luke is tied up beside his last friend Dom, and the people holding them captive tell them that Dom will be sacrificed. So he asks Luke to tell his family that he loves them and all that, but Luke won't accept it and acts like he's going to do everything he can to save Dom from that fate and that it's not going to happen. And but even though he's alone in a room, not being watched or anything, basically they take Dom away. And he's so set on, no, don't worry, like, I'm gonna save you, like, 100%, like, don't even worry about it. And then they carry him off and start tying him to the stake, waiting for the creature and everything. But all Luke does is proceed to do nothing, really. Like, he yanks on his ropes, on his wrists, and he's not being watched. Like, he's totally alone in the room. I feel like there's other things that he could have potentially did, but instead he's just pulling at his wrists, which isn't gonna do anything. And the guy's already almost being attacked, you know what I mean? Like, he's already in place for the creature to come. I don't feel like he really did enough for the way he reacted when his friend was basically saying goodbye. It just didn't seem like he was actually really trying everything he could.
Yeah, I felt the same way. He offered all the sincerity of a Big Brother player. You're my bro, dude. I'm taking you to the final too. Yeah, and then yeah, pretty much did nothing. So
Yeah. Because why the hell I mean, they've been there like what, like a day or two, and he's been pulling on his wrists and stuff, which clearly hasn't worked. So why in the last final moments when his friend's actually about to die would that work? Like, why would your strategy be like use your already tied hands to try to free yourself just by pulling on the rope? It made no sense to me. Also, Luke is well aware that the guy's already out there tied and waiting for it. It's not like he's unsure where he's at and doesn't know he's in immediate danger. He knows that the guy is coming, and that's all he can do. So there's just countless minutes of him whining and trying to pry his hands out of the rope like he had already been failing at the entire time. And then the last minute, he snaps his wrist to dislocate it and finally frees one of his hands, but it's too late at that point. Like, Dom's already being eaten, basically. So he did nothing. And his other arm is still tied up. So it's not like he even succeeded. It's not like he's out there at least trying to do something and just witnesses him dying.
hmm.
It's he frees one hand that whole time and then he's still tied. Like, he basically failed miserably. So I thought that was weird. And then my last con was the very ending was very odd to me. because Luke somehow outruns the God Beast. And then once he's out of the forest, he just screams at it. And then the beast screams back at him. But for some reason, the beast is unable to leave the forest and pursue him. Like it's trapped in the forest for some reason. And then he leaves and it's like done. It was just weird. Like I don't understand, for one, how he would be able to outrun it. And then why the thing would be trapped there. It just seemed bizarre to me.
Well, I can understand. I definitely agree that I don't see how he could outrun something that large. But I can understand it being trapped there because it's a wood deity. And like I said, it's like a spirit essence of the forest. But they just happen to make it a physical thing that actually lived in the forest.
I see. Since then.
Yeah, so I think it just can't leave because that's where its source of power comes from. They also didn't talk about really food and water a lot. So he exits the forest at the end, but I don't see how he'll survive, long enough to get anywhere, right? They were already lost in the woods for days, used up their rations.
Oh yeah, that is a good point.
There wasn't really a big essence of them worrying about that. They were more worried about just being lost and ending up in Norway, I think one of them said.
Yeah, I think that's because they did plan for it to be a while, so I think they brought quite a bit of supplies, at least initially. So maybe they had enough.
To last like a week or something.
Yeah, that's my guess. But yeah, they didn't mention it, and I didn't see them eating or anything. So maybe they just didn't think to put that in there, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I liked when they were in the tent and it was raining and everything, and they heard one of their friends screaming out in the woods. And they were all worried about leaving the tent because they were worried they would get lost out there and the tent would disappear, basically. So which is a relevant fear, but at the same time, it was just sad because I know how I would feel if I was walking out in the woods being eaten by something and everyone was too scared to leave the tent. Like,
that is true. Although I will say, like, his shrieks, and I think you could even hear like a monster noise. I don't think anyone felt that they could actually do anything anyway, really. So
this is true.
I get what you're saying, though. That would be sad.
Yeah, I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but just that it was sad.
Yeah, it definitely was.
But yes, that was not a bad film for, just a couple-hour watch. I would recommend that. 3 kernels.
It was more good than bad.
Yeah, just I wouldn't say if your expectations are in the right place, then you'll enjoy it, most likely. If you like that type of, those themes, and if you like that type of horror film, then I think you can appreciate it. That's a wrap.
Lone Food Media.